I'm surprised you ain't got the game on.
Look like Frank, man.
Yeah, I heard it.
That's George,
You got Jerry McCain?
Yeah, hi.
He hasn't been playing pretty well the last couple of games.
They might buy no tickets to see Gerald McCain.
Mhm. I would play him over Kyle Lowry.
That's what I
Where's the
said.
game done?
How are you done? Get him out of here. He's better play defensive foul about it. Scusi. Feels good. It's a little nippy out. Cold out here. I'm not happy about it. Man, I don't understand it. It'd be 70 degrees one day. Yeah, go warm. That's not real.
Yeah, that only takes me.
Welcome to another episode of Above Average Black Men. Yours truly, Chris Spencer Sr.
Chris Jr. here to empower, inspire, and uplift the community.
Devin Pender, like, follow, subscribe, share, comment, interact with us.
Yes.
We got some things coming up. I don't know if you would talk about them.
You can comment during the show, comment live. Yes, and we'll be talking about those, like, highlighting those comments. But of course, in between the show too. As Dev said, we start things off, kick things off, highlighting the toy store drive coming up this year. Something that, we've been doing annually for the past.
It's been a lot of years.
Yeah, it's been a lot of years, but it's something that, I feel like
It's been a lot of years.
It's been a staple for us now, and it's been growing each and every year, and thoroughly enjoy it, being able to help and give back to the community. So if you want to be involved, like, we're looking for donations. We're looking for people to donate coats, toys.
New toys and new coats.
Yes, we do have to make sure we say that. None of your old stuff. None of that, unless it's like one of them old things never been open, we can probably get some money for it.
My son had more than 3 years.
I
New toys,
know.
new coats. We look for volunteers. Volunteers to come down. They can rap gifts, not rap.
I was about to say, like, make sure you clarify that too.
This week Toy Store Works is going to be
Christmas
December 21st, from 9 to 3 o'clock at the Discovery Center, 3401 Reservoir Drive, Fillmore Park. And what's going to happen is, we look for volunteers. Volunteers can come down. They can help gift wrap. You can help people shop. They can pick up their own things. We use the term shop, but they don't spend any money. But you can walk with a family and they pick up the stuff. They put the stuff in the bag. You take it to the table. We gift wrap. So we'll be on December 21st from 9 to 3. I can't remember how many years doing this, man. My mind it's been so long now.
Yeah.
You can either you can hit me up on the website www.familiescommunity.org. You can donate through the website www.familiescommunity.org, or you can go to the website and send me a message.
You can do that too.
You can send me a message, and then I will definitely get back to you. And if you want to donate, you can go to the website that way. If you reach out to me through the website, I have Zelle, I have a Cash App, so a bunch of ways.
Different ways you can donate, gift cards, all those things. And you can
cards,
reach out to us individually, if you know.
Yeah,
me
hit
and
me up on
Devin.
Facebook.
Yeah, it's Facebook, Instagram. Well, me not Facebook so much, not there. But
I got a guy that's going to come and be the Grinch.
The Grinch.
He's been asking for a couple years.
The Grinch?
That's me. That's his character.
Come on.
You don't want to be Santa?
Santa Claus.
That's his character.
Yeah, elf.
Any
maybe
good
it's his
positive
personality. I don't
character. The Grinch. That's an odd one to me. We're doing the toy drive. I was just about to sit here and be like, come through, be a blessing to other families, but we go ahead and Grinch. Still your presence.
I do want to do a little snippet broadcast from there this year.
Yeah, I think we should do some interviews.
We can bring that down.
Do something live, a nice little short video while we're there.
I already got about 10 volunteers already. Who hit me up who said they want to be a part of it. I haven't opened them yet. Somebody gave me about 6 or 7 boxes of Pokemon stuff already. People reached out to me and contacted me. They're going to do some stuff for me, pick up some stuff. So it's gonna be pretty good. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
excited.
and, I mean, we get into it early. We before Thanksgiving, so I think.
Matter of fact, I'm gonna have I'm getting 20 turkeys and some chickens to give out for Thanksgiving too.
Right.
So I'll be doing a Thanksgiving thing this year.
Well, I think at the end of this, we need to make sure that we highlight and discuss all these things again. Sounds like we got a lot of stuff going on.
And I want to promote Justin's show too.
Yes.
I want to make sure I promote you at the Royal, man.
Yes. Well, we out here doing commercials.
Yeah, well, we gotta support. We gotta support, man. But anyway, so what we're gonna talk about tonight is just bouncing back. You know, when you get Les Brown used to always say, when you get knocked down, make sure you fall down on your back. So he said, when you look up, you can get up.
And what's actually when I saw the title of this, it's relevant in so many ways, and I kind of wanted to see where we were going to take it tonight. You know, are we talking about bouncing back from within, like, kind of how things played out politically, or just in a general everyday sense?
But it ties together, because there's a lot of people who I didn't realize the depth, you know, of the hurt that people experience. I didn't, you know, and maybe because I looked at it differently, but there's a lot of people who are still struggling with that, man, who really were hurt and wounded, man. And
people crying.
Yeah,
crying.
And, you know, and it's like a week later. Yeah, and people are still upset. And to me, so in a bounce back kid, that includes that too, because I did my, you know, Monday we met our group, and as we talked about what's next. We talked about what's next. And I think it's important, if we start off with the political aspect of it, is, you know, you can't stay there. It's overdone. You can't go back and change it. But what you can do, you can get involved. You know, volunteer in your school, reading some kids, you know, mentor. You can do stuff out there to kind of offset what's coming down the pipe.
Yes. And like, even when I thought about bouncing back, you know, I thought of it as it's a mentality for sure. You know, being able to have, you know, the presence of mind and even just strength to push through a turbulent time. You know, I thought of, man, I've had a couple of different injuries in my sports career. You know, I tore my ACL. I remember when that first happened for me, you know, I got that diagnosis. I cried, because all I remember was what's that movie, Love and Basketball? And when he came back after his ACL, how bad he was, I was like, I don't want to be like that. But like, at the end of the day, it was just about kind of being able to persevere, and, like, you know, thinking to myself, like, not only am I going to come back, I'm going to come back better. And I think, you know, kind of taking that mentality and applying it to life is certainly something that probably more people need to apply. It's something that I know I've done personally. Just knowing that trials and tribulations are going to come, and that not all the time in life you're just going to be moving forward. Sometimes you're going to get pushed back or fall down at times. And it's like, you know, really life is about, what do you do in or after those situations? So, you know, bouncing back, I think it's certainly something where people need to look inward a little bit. I think right now, even talking about in our political sphere, it's a lot of people pushing out there, like, oh, they're the problem. You need to change this. You need to, when in reality, I think we all kind of need to look inward and just see how we can do better to move forward.
But that's why things stay the same. You know, you go through the period of, and I use politics, you know, since we started there. You know, you go through the finger pointing, but nothing really changes. You know, and the problem with that is, you really only address the issues when you lose.
Yep.
The issues have always been there. It's just when you lose, you begin to address the issues, and they become, and then you don't really address it. You get into the finger pointing. Nobody comes up with a solution. And I think it's the same way when you go through other struggles in life, whether it's a divorce, whether it's health, whatever situation, because you're going to get knocked down in life. It's inevitable. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. You know, how you handle it is the key to it.
Yes.
You know, how you see it. You know, some people get knocked down, they think that's who they are. Some people get knocked down, they think they deserve it. But I think you have to look at it this way. You know, it's an education. What did I learn from this? What did I learn from getting knocked down? How do I not get knocked down again, at least for the same thing? You know, like, I do this workshop, you know, so life is a 12-round bout, and I talk about the different rounds. You know, the first round, you come out, you dancing, man, everybody just kind of
they got,
you know, and then somebody mess around, hit somebody hard, then it turns into a fight. You know, so then I was like, the second round, you start, you know, by the fifth round, somebody getting tired.
They get tired.
Yeah. So that's where you got to go to the next level. And the next level is the same when you get knocked down. You have to go to the next level. And I think that's what people don't know how to do. I think people are so one, we talked about last week, they stuck in a sense of mediocrity. So you settle for stuff, And I think two, we just live in a sensitive time, man, where for some reason people think stuff is not supposed to happen to them.
Yeah.
And number three is, I think this is one of the main reasons is nobody has a vision. So if you don't know where you're going, it's easy to get knocked off course.
It's like I have this feeling or just thought like that. People aren't taking control of their own lives and situations. Like they definitely kind of leave things up to everybody else. Like it's your fault I didn't do this or I didn't get this, or it's your fault that I need to be here or put in this position. Like I think it's too much of that to the point where like when people do get knocked down, it's hard for them to bounce back.
How can you bounce back if you don't know what you're bouncing back for?
That's it. Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, because they walk around not thinking about a future, not having a 5-year plan, not thinking about a vision.
They waiting for somebody to pick them up.
Yeah, just because you don't know what you're doing. But it's like you use basketball. I use this analogy when I was in the class. I was talking to kids yesterday, and we were talking about it. And people often ask me what was different than people I grew up with. And one of the things about me was, I used to go in there and shoot 100 jump shots a day. Mm-hmm. I went to the gym, I shot those shots a day. And so people who were better than me, I eventually passed. Because I kept working, because I kept seeing something different. They were content where they were.
Yeah.
The problem is when you king of the hill and you don't work on your game, the hill gets lower and lower.
It's just going through the motions.
Yeah, but that's the same thing when people get knocked down. You got to have a reason to get up. If you don't have a reason to get up, it's hard. It's hard. And I think a lot of people, when you talk to people about what's your 5-year plan, what's your vision, what's your future, I don't know. What are you doing? People used to say just chilling. My dad said chilling is in frozen state going nowhere. That's a lot of people. I think the difference between people who are successful and people who are not successful, people who are successful, they have a finish line. They have something they want to complete. They have a finish line in sight. People who are not, they don't. So when you get knocked off course, when you get back up, any direction you head in is good. Because you don't have a course. Any direction you're going is good. And I think I see it more and more when I'm talking to young people. Like people, like, I think it's always been in there. I think it's just more pertinent now, or I should say is more evident now. You're talking to seniors, man, who now we almost at the end of this year, we halfway through the school, who don't have any plans. Yeah. So I want to go to college. I didn't plan. I didn't apply for school. I haven't taken the SATs. My GPA is probably like the tire pressure on my car, on our car. The things they have not done because they're not thinking ahead. They think in June they're going to turn it on. All this stuff is just going to come together for them. And it doesn't. So and that's because their parents don't think ahead. Their parents are living by the seat of their parents as well.
And I actually was going to kind of bring it up or just kind of ask about that when you have people who have been in a situation or a place for so long where, constantly, I feel like we talked about this before, like this notion of they tell us or constantly like, this is just what this is what your life is like. You know what I mean? Like these are the things that are going to happen to you because of the color of your skin. And I think some people hear that and they kind of fold because they think it's an expectation of you to kind of have these hardships or these troubles. So it's like they don't even see it as an opportunity to bounce back. It's an expectation of this is just supposed to happen. And I think that is an issue or something that gets overlooked and overdressed. People don't know how to bounce back because it's like, what is bounce back? This is my life.
But more so than that, and if you look at the political climate, and again, this is not a political show, but you already see some of the stuff he's doing. Like he announced today that any school, he named president yet, any school that teaches Black history is he's going to take the funding away because he considers it's not history. So now what you're seeing is not just Black history.
I gotta tap in on that one.
But it's not just Black history. It's not just Black history. What he's saying is now is I'm going to control what you talk about. I'm going to control what you learn in all these schools now, and that's dangerous. That's dangerous. So I say that because people don't pay attention to what's going around them, so they don't even, So by the time they get knocked down, they like in La La Land. They done been stunned 7 to 8 times. They just don't know it. They don't know where they are. And so he's put people in a position, man. He put somebody off some Fox host in charge of some stuff. He put people in the cabinet. So people don't even realize what's going on. Now, what's going to happen is when the big haymaker come, they being jabbed right now. they're not gonna know what to do.
You know what's funny? I was just thinking about how people was making this big deal of LeBron James getting his son drafted.
I said that today. I used that same analogy today.
Donald Trump filling up all these positions.
I used that
friends, favors, money.
I said that today. I said I don't want to hear anybody, and everybody in the office got quiet. I said everybody's talking about
LeBron play basketball.
Yeah.
I mean,
even run the country.
Even before that, his first
son,
he had his son, daughter,
Yeah.
you know, he
But I
had
think
daughter-in-law.
Yeah, but I think it goes back to, and I use that as a knowledge because a lot of times people, even though the punch is telegraphed, they don't see it coming.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so then when they get not like now, and I'm not trying to turn this into the kind of show, but who in their right mind thought that we lived in a race-free country? Who? I don't understand. People like they shocked that a certain part of America wouldn't vote for a black woman. Like, where you been living? Why are you shocked by that?
I think that to me is kind of telling of some people in this country.
I would agree.
The delusion. It's just to think that yes, we've made progress, or yes, you have a group of friends or people that believe in this ideology that you believe in. And like you're in your bubble, but if you're looking at the grand scheme of the world, even like yes, it does not look like us. Mm-hmm. And even like I keep trying to tell, I'm so glad that I went to school in the mountains. You know, same thing for you. We went to school because we got to get outside of this democratic area and see the remainder of the state and know like, yo, this is a big red place.
It's different out there.
Yes. And I think a lot of people live in their little bubble, yes, and think that like that's just how the world is supposed to be reflected, and it's not.
And I think what you said is an excellent point because I was the same way until I went to Rochester. When I went to South Henrietta, and I was like, you know, it was a whole lot of blacks, and you're in a different environment, man. You get to see how the world looks at things differently. Mm-hmm. When you go from being the majority to the minority, you know, in the situation because you grew up in the hood, you're part of the majority, you know. And it's almost like the conversation we had with Angie. Like, we weren't looking at the news. Mm-mm. We weren't talking about the news when we got together. We just, you know, we were talking sports. You know, we weren't paying attention to current events. That's just not what we did.
Right.
You know, so we were primed to be knocked down. We were primed when something happened to be oblivious to it because we lived around a bunch of black people. Mm-hmm. You know, we just functioned went to school with black people. Everything we did with black people, you know, that's what we did. You know, it wasn't until I got outside the hood when I realized, like, yo, there's people out there don't like me because of the color of my skin. I mean, I knew when I played the American Legion, but it was a harsh lesson because my parents brought me up to lead me to believe that the color of your skin don't matter. It's the content of your character. And then I found out, whoa, that's not the way it is. But I'm thinking, if you look now, I don't understand how people, you know, like I was disappointed. I wasn't shocked. You know, I was disappointed that what happened with the Harris didn't, and I, you know, but when you hear the things, it was a Spanish couple, and they were talking about, and they live in a burb somewhere, and I think Massachusetts somewhere. So the guy was asking, like, why would you vote for Trump? Aren't you concerned about, and this pretty much sums up how people think. Well, no, because he's only going to get the bad immigrants. He's only going to get the ones who are here illegally, you know, and so the guy was like, wait a minute, you do know when they start rounding them up, if you don't have your papers with you, you in that group.
That's so tragic to hear.
Yeah,
because it made me think of other stories where it's like, you know, like sometimes you hear the black on black crime, and like people are like, oh, that's never going to happen to me, and then you see a mother crying, and like,
but that's why like, people get knocked down.
It's like, man,
and then your inability to get up is because, like, okay, the election is over. Okay, what's next? You can't keep mourning about it. So now what you got to do is, and I talked about on Monday night, we got to start working, man. We got to start getting involved in our schools, getting involved in our communities, man. We got to start trying to figure out how to build black wealth.
And I think even just holding politicians accountable.
Yeah, no, but it has to be a community thing. We have to start getting galvanized as a community, not one person here, one person there too. We got to stay galvanized as a community. And I say it all the time, you know, and I know YouTube probably gonna blurt me on this anyway because they always do when I say it. But you know, we like, for instance, can you imagine if we all didn't go to Chick-fil-A for a month? Can you imagine if every black person we not gonna shop at Chick-fil-A for a month, or we said we're not gonna buy Nikes for a month?
Gucci.
You know, no, more people probably buy Nike though. I'm just saying that whatever we decide to boycott, that's probably more. You know, they would change. But then but the thing is, people, you know, the people are so busy now being devastated, nobody's thinking about how to come back, how to bounce back.
It's like, even when we talk about the idea of boycotting,
I like that. We still believe the other man's life is golden.
I saw that and I was like, I don't think I'm young enough or old enough to know that one.
White man, black man sell nice. But for some reason, black people think the white man's life is golden. Same exact product. just because who's selling it, they think it's golden. And that's the same mentality we have now. So I just think,
that's very true. Still, like,
but people quit, and I think quitting has become almost a norm in our society. You know, where it's one, it goes back to what we talked about last about mediocrity, but quitting is acceptable now. People just quit. They just drop out of life. What, somebody says something funny?
Justin said, I ain't giving up Chick-fil-A.
No, but I'm just saying.
But you know what, to that point, and not to, like, I know he'd be funny, but I did want to say, like, it's very hard for me to see black people coming together and giving something.
No, I agree with you 200%.
And it's sad. It hurts to say.
That's where our power is. But that's where our power is.
Yeah, I know.
This is how we can. Martin Luther King, people. It wasn't just the strike. It was to hit the bus company in the pocket. Because those black people were paying their money, man. They didn't care about the civil rights. They just, we losing a lot of money here because white folk driving the world and these black people getting the bus.
But you know what?
And
what's crazy about black people cared enough about their purpose. To be like, you know what? Like, listen, we not taking them. I'd rather walk. You know, they're not getting my money. They cared about something more than just the convenience.
But they carpool.
Yes.
But there's three major differences I see now. First of all,
I don't think we care enough.
Well, because most of us don't have a sense of community.
Don't care enough, right?
And we don't have a sense of community. Most of us is each one make it themselves. You know, I think the second thing is we're just not aware of our history. You know, most people, black people, don't. They just go right to slavery. They skip over the part where we were doctors, lawyers. We had our own towns making money, man, or the different things how we were doing in society. You know, even when it was segregated, how we were still pushing out, teachers and things of that nature. You know, and I think the third thing is we don't know who we are anymore. You know, black folk, we always imitating somebody.
You know, another thing I think too is that I think people do things for show. They do things or say things, and we've seen it probably with this election because so many people like just kind of in shock right now because they were like, oh my goodness, so many people were talking about Kamala Harris. And that's because they told you what you needed to hear. Yeah. You know what I mean? And not at the reality of what is actually about to take place or what they're about to do.
330,000 people didn't vote in Philly. 15 million Democrats didn't vote across the country. 15 million Democrats did not vote across the country, and they were talking about that, and that wasn't a surprise because it was a huge undecided out there, and that we talked about last week. The Democrats did a poor job of addressing the undecideds. They were so busy worried about the people who was voting here and there that you forget about the undecideds. They play a huge role.
They got a bunch of problems right now too. We could get into that.
But to your point, and I still think it was dumb. But to your point, people will hold on to their own issues. You're not addressing my issue. So since you to borrow your phrase, you're pandering to these people about sexuality. You're pandering to these people about pro-life. But you got a group of folk over here, man, who pro-broke.
Right.
We
are broke. Honestly,
and we trying to figure out. I'm living paycheck to paycheck. And when you talk about the economy, you're talking about rich people. You're not talking about, you saying we, but nothing you say comes down to my level. There is no trickle down economics. There's no such thing as a unicorn.
But
people talk about it, but just like gas is finally coming down $3 a gallon. Gas is finally coming down. What box of cereal costs you $4 now?
But like even just thinking about that, like the idea of if you ask somebody, like you come to me, you ask me what's wrong. I'm not gonna start with like, well, I'm black and it's hard, and then I'm gonna be like, yo, I'm broke, gas expensive. Like, yeah, I wish I got more money. Like, I think it's more that brings us together, and I don't think the Democrats did a good enough job to focus on those things that bring us together. It was just it was really a divisive type.
They didn't do a good enough job on it. And Republicans did a great job of highlighting the issues that they knew people buzzwords.
Yeah.
They knew when people who were pro-life, they weren't going to look deep enough to say that, okay,
this man's playing basketball with your daughter.
It wasn't just about pro-life. It was about the fact that now you got to carry a fetus full term now. People are dying because they got these dead babies inside them getting infected. That all that stuff was left out. They kept talking about pro-life. To people in the hood, as much as we don't value education, we understand what happens when you start cutting education. We never talked about it. You're not going to break the cycle of poverty until you fix the educational system. And I know I'm going to get trouble for saying this. Adding days to a broken system like we're doing in Philadelphia is bullcrap. It doesn't fix the system.
They're really doing that.
It doesn't fix the system. So somebody who's struggling, I'm already trying to make it. I already don't think I'm going to make it out of here. Now you cutting the only avenue. I'm not good in sports. Now you cutting the only venue or avenue I got to get out of here. So now I got the sense of hopelessness. I'm dangerous when I don't care. And I don't vote because I think voting don't make a difference because nobody's, and I, how I feel about that. I think that's crazy, but I'm just from that perspective, because that's what people are saying now. They wish they would have voted because they realize now when you don't vote, it does make a difference. But their reason behind it at the time, and somebody can get mad at me for saying this, I disagree with them wholeheartedly, but I understood the thought process. I disagree with them wholeheartedly, but I know if you take somebody that feels isolated and neglected, and hurt and wounded and beat down, and you say, I want to hear you, but when I'm talking, you don't hear me, that's a hurt piece.
And I made this example before. It's like sports, man. Put something on the floor that I want to see and support. Something that gets me excited to be out there.
But they don't know how to because it's a playbook. They don't. The thing about politics is they all have playbooks. And the playbooks are made by a bunch of people who was told how to touch with people. That's what made Obama so good because he was grassroots.
Obama was smooth,
but he was grassroots.
And you want to know another thing? He was authentic and real.
Because he was grassroots. It's funny because we were in New York.
Hate to say it. I've been saying it.
We were in New York and they had a Trump rally, so we got in the car and I was not going to talk. I was not going to talk about it. It was against Trump because I didn't want to get in trouble with the cab driver. It was an African cab driver, and he starts going in. So I don't know what. I guess I don't know what made him do it, but he just starts going in, and he said 3 things about Kamala, which I totally agree with. One thing he said was, she wasn't authentic. It was like she was trying to force herself to talk black. And I agree. Like at the end of it, she would kind of use like slang, like different things. At the end of
Southern accent,
Southern, Spanish, Jamaican.
It wasn't natural. And the other thing was she never, and I never noticed it until he said it. She never did come out and say she was black. She fought back against what they said, but he said she never did come out and say I am black or African American. She just said, and I never paid attention to it. So if she did, I didn't see it. But
she
made a good point.
She talks about her parents,
right? Yeah, but she never came out and said I am.
And then she says I'm brown.
Yeah. So then her comment was it's all inclusive. People know it's all inclusive, but they want to hear. And somebody in the hood who is in that blackness mode, they don't want to. It's like I was speaking at a workshop one time, and I kept using the term brown people, and dude raised his hand and got offended. Just say what you want to say. Say black people. So there's a contingent of people who.
But no, I wanted to use this as an example of the race.
Should have just said you watch TV.
No, in case you want to check it out. In case you want to check it out for yourself. Right.
No,
it's entertaining. It actually entertaining because some of the things, it's like it blows my mind. I can't believe you think this woman is.
I'm sure it blows your mind.
Nonetheless, but it was this woman. She could easily pass for white, and like as soon as they told the family that she was mixed or black, they were sick. Like, you know what I mean? Like it was just that instant of just saying that, and like it made me think about kind of interracial kids or people that are growing up. They're very much seen black.
But that's my third point. She never addressed the elephant in the room. That which in some people, and the African guy, he said it.
That's why it made people mad.
He said that, but he said, had she been married to a black man and never said it, it would have been a different issue. But because she was married to, it wasn't the white guy, but it was because she married to a white guy and she never came out and said she was black, that the red flag went up again. And I never really thought about it until he said it, because she never did come out and she never addressed the fact about that she was in a biracial relationship. And then people say it don't matter. But when you are in a country that's strictly divided by race, you gotta address the elephant in the room.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta just. That's like, to me, Charles Barkley had no credence when he kept talking, because he's married to a white woman, and he kept talking about us against them. Dude, you gotta stop saying that.
That just made me think that Obama came out and said he was black and he's interracial.
But the African,
Rachel, sorry, I'm getting them mixed up. It's crazy.
But that's what the African guy was, and it was funny because a lot of Africans don't consider themselves being black. So I was surprised, and he was passionate about this, man. And he said some other stuff. He said, "Dude, look this up, man. Get on your phone." He said, the reason why they never attack Africa is because I never thought about it. It's true. He said because the United States Federal Reserve is based on gold, and most of the gold they get is from Africa.
Gold backs the U.S. dollar.
Yeah. So he was saying how that's why they're very careful about how how he said Trump was very careful and smart about how he attacks it, like because he doesn't consider Haitians having anything, so he joked on them. But we know he mean all black people. But again, we got to get past that, and to get back on topic, we got to get up, man. We got to get up. We've overcome civil rights. We've overcome Jim Crow. We've overcome so many things, man. So we gotta. This is not the time to be more than walking on crime.
We're not the same blacks.
I agree, but that's why we have to be. We have to become that, because things are not going to change because we home crying about it.
I think we have to become a different version of it, because it's like it's hard for me to see and imagine where we are now, and like to have all of these people. Because back in the day, y'all were a lot more disciplined. Y'all were a lot more communal, and like that is certainly fractured.
And this was, but this is the conversation I was trying to have with Angela. We were talking about it because we weren't tied in the media like this. We weren't, we weren't sitting in front of the TV set watching the news. That wasn't,
because we didn't have that.
But that's what I was trying to explain when she was saying how the media.
It was a little bit. But it was the media. They would sit around the radio or sit around.
No, we didn't. No, y'all do that now. We weren't tied into the news like that growing up. We were too busy outside playing sports or whatever, getting up. We weren't sitting there following the news. We weren't, unless something big happened that came over and things. We weren't following the news.
Part of it, because when Martin Luther King marched and he said, "Stand there," it was part of the image.
You missing what I'm saying. Y'all are more tied into them. So y'all right. Stuff is real time now. Y'all know about stuff right away. We didn't have all that.
Yeah.
We didn't have all that.
So if something happened in Texas, we could see it
right away. So we weren't like that, because one, we didn't have it. Two, we weren't sitting there glued to the TV set. Like at my house, we had a TV downstairs. It wasn't TVs in every room, so they was always looking at something. We had a little after school thing, but we weren't sitting looking at the news. And as I got older, I was outside playing sports and everything. So when it came on, 6 o'clock, I was outside, and then 11 o'clock I was asleep. So me and my friends, our group, and we weren't time. See, you guys watch the news or you listen to the news.
So you more exposed. We're in a 24-hour news cycle.
Right. Yeah. So, and the difference is, so we didn't have an issue trying to differentiate the truth. Y'all do now, because some of the stuff coming, a lot of it is fake news. I thought I would never say that. It is
fake news. I always feel like the propaganda has been a thing that has existed and been out there for a long period of time, as long as we've had.
It is, but the difference is more people are exposed to it now.
Like I think it's hyperdrive right now.
It is. And it even appears because more people are exposed to it. When something comes on 3, 6, and 10 and nothing else, you're not going to bombard people with the message. And most of the time, like when my dad got home, he wasn't watching the news. We weren't tied in. Like now, everybody's a little more tied into the news. It's like the political cycle. When people just oblivious to every 4 years they get involved, they get engaged. Forget every 3.5 years, because they wait till like a half year before. So my point is, let me back up. I do agree with what you said about we will never be the same, but we got to get back to that. We got to get to the point where we need to be a little different, because now we're educated, we have more resources. Marching is not just the answer, but we got to start boycotting businesses. We got to start, using our economic power. We do. We got to start doing things differently, man. And I think it's going to take Trump at his worst to start bringing black people together. Before they start to realize that, he wasn't just talking about the black dude over there, he was talking about everybody.
You know what I just thought about that really kind of came to life from Malcolm X, where he was just talking about our leaders, quote unquote, being the entertainers and
comedians,
the musicians, the athletes. Like
what the party left out was there were leaders that were given to us,
and they're doing that right now.
And no offense, somebody who listens to this will say this, but I ain't vote for Al Sharpton to be my spokesman.
But they're doing it right now.
Right, but because they're leaders, because they give us leaders they can control. That's what we haven't figured out. Al Sharpton's not gonna mess that show up.
Why do I care if Beyonce comes up there and tells me to vote for something?
Or DL Hughley on the radio?
Why should I care?
Well, okay, let's talk about this. And I know I'm gonna get it. So what? Who cares? Just think about this. Two of the prominent people now who have a voice in the black community: D.L. Hughley and Steve Harvey. Come on, man, that's a joke by itself.
That's what I'm saying. It's like these people that you can't take
Well,
seriously.
we didn't pick them; they were given to us. That's
Yeah,
the
I know.
problem.
That's what I'm saying.
They were given platforms on purpose. On purpose, they've given them platforms on purpose to put them out there, and they don't realize it, and we don't realize it because we just see black wealth. So we jump in there.
That's what I'm saying.
Steve Harvey been divorced so many times to write a book, and everybody just buy the book.
I'm saying that because it's just like again, we got these people who, and not to say that they aren't intelligent or like able to convey thoughts and opinions that I say come across elegantly, but I still feel like, man, like why aren't we professors, historians, activists, like those people who are in the trenches?
The difference is this. The difference is Martin Luther King stayed in his realm. Malcolm X stayed in their realm. They weren't out there talking about climate control and trying to solve every problem in the world, And now you got Steve Harvey who don't know crap when all of a sudden you speak on every topic. You got D.L. Hughley. You got D.L. Hughley. You got D.L. Hughley who says some things, but you don't have all the answers.
Change the comedy.
Yeah, you don't have all your answers. So I think that's part of the problem, And so they give us a leader. Like I go back to Al Sharpton, and I have nothing personal against Al Sharpton. He's not going to risk that show.
I heard somebody say he looked like a wax figure.
But he's lost a lot of weight. But he's not going to risk that show. So he's only going to go so far. He's not going to get himself talking about boycotting businesses and things like that because they advertise on the show.
I mean, because and I think this is part of the problem. He gets paid. He gets money.
But that's my point.
He got $500K to support Kamala Harris.
But that's why. But not even take that. Not even that. His show, the stuff he makes on the show, he's not going to jeopardize. That's why they make him a spokesman because I can control him.
But and that's what I was going to say. I mean, that's still relevant. What I'm saying because it just shows like it was some money.
Well, I mean, it's relevant, but I mean, it's different because come on, I did a lot of good that did. What I'm talking about is, when you taking money from somebody and you depend upon the money, you only can go so far before they reel you back in.
The reason why I say that's important because they told us how much this is life or death and like how life changing this is. But then you want to say, well, if you give me $500K, I can help you put that message out there.
Yeah, but
how is it? Is it that important, or is it like you? Is it worth something?
But that's true. But to me, the bigger problem is you a leader. You proclaim to be a black leader.
You're not a leader to me.
But you put yourself in a position where someone else is controlling you. You can't lead if somebody says you only can go so far. You only can take that message so far. It'd be cool. Like, okay, Devin, I got you, man. You can talk about black rights, equal rights, and all that stuff. But when they start burying DEI, you got to back off. You can't say. And I'm not saying this, you can't say the white man or different things like that. So you control. Or to your point, I wouldn't, because I know you only can go so far. I was sharp. It's not even. We had a show about that. Dude, ain't even relevant anymore. Think about when we had a whole show. We talked about that, dude. So first of all, that tells me who's out there. You give him $5. Come on, really? You better give Beyonce $5. Tell her to go out and tour the country.
She did get the one. Yeah, she did get the one.
So I'm saying, so you got see. That's the part we got to get back to as African Americans. We got to first get a sense of community. There's all this crab in the barrel, all this crazy stuff. We got to put that aside, man. Second of all, man, we got to be better educated. We can't only engage the system 6 months before the presidential election, man. And we got to be engaged in our community, man. We got to be engaged in our schools. I'm not saying you got to be a mentor, but you know what? And I'll start with the church first. And I say this to a group of guys. You can pray for a specific school. You can pray for a group of people, man. You can volunteer if that's the next step. There's so many different things you can do to start to right the ship. Because this will take generations to kind of combat the crap that's happening now.
Can Kabbalah go to church?
I mean, I think
just to go to church
a few. But I think that's the issue. We were allowed ourselves to be divided about two issues and not look at the big picture. You want to cut schools, you cut funding in school, you talking about cut Social Security, you put Elon Musk in charge, you put a bunch of crazy people in charge of stuff. It's the dude you put in charge of the EPA said he hasn't washed his hands in months because he don't believe in germs. Come on, man.
And I think we got a great message that came in from Anthony Moore. I feel like this is kind of taking all of the things that we said and putting it together here. We are still searching for our voice for our Black community. Many leaders who have a platform that teaches major audiences are not willing to lose their livelihood in pursuit of improving our communities. And that is spot on. Like, they're not willing to lose what they have coming in
Well,
or the greater good.
But we got to be smart
greater
enough to
good.
realize what's happening. And he's spot on, man. But we got to be smart enough to realize that's what's taking, and we're not. You know, we fall for the okie doke.
You know what
every
though?
time.
Listen, I don't even want to say we falling for the okie doke sometimes. I think some people don't care and they know. I think they just
see this person
self-serving, yes, and it's like I'm like, you know what it makes me think of? It makes me think of Derrick Jackson, and like how he just said what he needed to say to get the money and be in this position, and it made people feel good. But behind the scenes, he taking the money and doing whatever he needed to do for himself.
But that don't work. This unless you get a large. I agree with you. There's people like that, but in order for them to really have power, they got to get a lot of people to believe, to trust them. I do agree with you, but you you got to get, and so that's what happens because people. We live in a time. We live in a time now. We live in a time now that's based on instant gratification and sound bites. Folk don't research. Folk don't listen for the truth.
If it don't fit within 30 seconds.
Yeah, ever since, and I was about to say this, ever since Johnny Cochran came out with the oldie thing, if it don't fit, we must have quit. That's how we live our lives. Little quick sayings is taking over now. Everybody got a little saying for something.
That was a bar.
It is, but everybody got to quit a little for saying something, but there's no substance. And to Anthony's point, at some point we got to wake up and fight back. We got to, I get it. We mourned a little bit. It was a tough deal, but guess what? Nothing's going to get corrected unless you start to engage.
Pick yourself up.
Yeah, we got to start doing stuff. And I break it down to the different sides. First of all, we got to get out this whole thing where it don't matter. If I hear that one more time and I'm about to offend somebody and I don't care, we watch preachers on TV, it don't matter. Where did you get that from? I say this to somebody, they said that to me yesterday. And you're supposed to be a Christian. I said, let me tell you something. Didn't the children of Israel didn't have to suffer? They suffered, right? So what do you mean it don't matter? Hey, Noah, tell the people in Noah they got drowned that it didn't matter what was going on. It matters what goes on around. People are gonna stop saying that. It matters. So that's part of the problem right there, because some of them probably didn't vote. It don't matter. Well, why did Joshua have to march around the wall, literally the walls of Jericho? It does matter. We gotta stop saying. Are
these Christians that are saying?
Yeah, because we all know God is in control, and I know God got my back. But it doesn't mean He doesn't allow us to go through stuff. And so that's part of the problem. When you people get that attitude, it does matter. We have to understand it and stop thinking that we're not going to go through anything because we're Christians. I don't know where that came from. And somebody says, yeah, well, God didn't put them there. Saul, the people asked for Saul. God didn't want the people that became. People wanted, we all know how that turned out. So, but that's the part where, and now I get off of the church, I get on the other part of society. You cannot participate in the system and then complain about the system not working. You can't. If you don't vote and you're not involved in the system, that's why the system is broken. That's the problem. And we got to stop saying that my vote don't count. 15 million Democrats didn't vote. That was the election.
I just don't like when I hear people say like they didn't vote or anything like that. People died for that, right?
Yeah, but this goes back to you don't know your history. If you don't know your history, you don't. And most black people know slavery. They know slavery to now. Somebody was talking about, well, they're going to protect their own. I said, wait a minute. Don't you know a black man? We talking, and they talking about immigrants. I said, well, immigrants built this country. What do you mean? Slaves. You brought us in and put us to work. That White House that they fighting over right now, it was a black man who made sure that they got it. It was a black man who made sure they got. So when you don't know your history, and the